All right, welcome to another episode. On today's episode of Welcome to the Winner Circle, alongside co-host Bianca, we interview founder, owner, and head brewer of Wolseley Kombucha, award-winning Emergent Woman Entrepreneur of the Year, and a free spirit modern hippie. Welcome to the Winner Circle, Michelle Leclair.
Hi, Derek. Thank you so much for having me today.
Right on. I'm so excited to have you on as a guest. And we were talking before this episode that I've known you for a real long time. We've actually go way, way back. We were in grade 2 together. We did elementary together, high school together. And it's been a real joy to watch the path that you've taken. In comparison to all the others we grew up with and went to school with, you took a really unique approach. While you did get a profession, you followed your heart and you created your own brand, you created your own company, and you truly went for your win. And that's what these conversations are all about, is interviewing real world heroes who listen to their heart and have gone for the win. And you have done that. And I'm so excited to talk to you about that story, that journey.
Yeah, it's definitely been a journey. It's something that I think I've been, working on for many years. Even when I was working as an X-ray tech at Concordia Hospital, I would always bring my weird elixirs and kombucha. It would always change, like it's always something health oriented. But I would always bring them in. I'd be like, "Hey guys, try this," and everyone would try it, give me feedback. So it's definitely something that's kind of been brewing in me for many years. But it's funny too, because we were just at Third and Bird, not last weekend, but the weekend before. And one of my old coworkers was like, "It's so great to see you, Michelle, to see where you've come with your business." Because I used to always bring her all my weird kombucha mixes and like batches and stuff. So she's like, "It's great to see that you've really done something." So it's been an incredible journey. And yeah, it's great to be here.
One way that we get to know our guests is by talking about their mission. And let's start with the mission of Wolseley Wellness, and then let's get into your personal mission. That is the mission that overrides all we do, whether that be our personal lives, our professional lives, and everywhere's in between. So what is the mission of Wolseley Kombucha? And what is your personal mission, Michelle?
So I think the mission of Wolseley Kombucha is, just to bring the healthiest, great tasting kombucha to the community. The company started, in my kitchen at home, and, I was just making kombucha for my friends and family, because there's not a lot of brands on the market that actually taste good. And there's not a lot of brands on the market that are actually real kombucha. A lot of brands are actually made from a concentrate, but because it's not a regulated field, nobody is really saying what's real and what isn't. So it's kind of like my mission to bring the healthiest, low sugar, great tasting kombucha to my community. So that would be our mission as a business. And personally, what is my mission? I don't know. Now that I've become an entrepreneur, I feel like my mission's just there's so many businesses that I want to start now. Just to, I guess, bring businesses to the community, and also to mentor other entrepreneurs that, have questions about, I still don't know everything. I'm not saying that I know everything, but definitely, I've had a lot of mentors. So, just being there for other entrepreneurs is important.
That's amazing. I love hearing your enthusiasm for the entrepreneurship itself, because a lot of people, they have the passion for something, and starting a business can create a lot of resistance because it's not something we're necessarily taught in school. So is that something you always had in you? Like you wanted to start your own business, kind of diving in fearlessly? What was that like?
Honestly, I didn't even actually know I had that in me until, I had a business idea, and then it's like, okay, I need to learn this, and then I would figure that out. And then it's definitely, now that I've become an entrepreneur, I can't imagine not being, but before I didn't even know, I could do it. But we have a lot of really great resources in Winnipeg. There's so many associations, like Futurepreneur is incredible. They helped me basically build my business plan. And then I also got a lot of my funding through them. And I've just recently been accepted to their accelerator program. So they have a lot of really free resources, essentially. So Futurepreneur is incredible. So I think it's like, you know, just for me anyways, I'm like, oh, I need to learn how to do bookkeeping or this and that. So like World Trade Center is also another really good resource. So just knowing where to find those resources. And then through these different communities, you always meet people and network. And then, you know, it's, you'll end up seeing that person at another event. Yeah, so it's just really just networking and meeting people.
Yeah.
So let's get into the origin of your love for kombucha. On your website, it talks about how you discovered kombucha, or this interest was lit in Hawaii, on a trip to Hawaii. So let's trace things back there. Like, when did this passion for kombucha arise?
So in my like early 20s, I was really sick and put on a lot of antibiotics. And I think at that point, all of my gut, like beneficial bacteria in my gut was basically wiped off. So after I recovered and I was better, I noticed everything I ate, I couldn't digest anything and I couldn't figure out what it was. Western medicine didn't offer like any type, they would just kind of, you know, give me, you know, something to fix the symptom, but I couldn't figure out like what the root problem was. So I ended up going to a Chinese medicine doctor and she's like, you have no gut microbiome at all. Because so basically she's like, we need to heal your gut and, you know, start replenishing your gut with good bacteria. So she suggested, you know, all kinds of fermented foods, but she's like, you should start drinking kombucha. And I didn't even know what it was at that point. This is going back like 2014, I think, ish. And so then I started drinking lots of kombucha. And then at that time, I volunteered to work a Wanderlust festival in Hawaii. So I went there and then I tried the most amazing kombucha at the festival and they had it on tap. So I was like, this is amazing. This is so good. I want to do this. Nobody in Winnipeg was even making kombucha locally. There was just like, you know, me. I don't even know if Rise was around then. Like, I think it was just GTs and that's it. Like there wasn't a lot. And then it's funny because actually my husband, I say husband, but technically we're not married yet. We'll be married one day. Our wedding just keeps getting postponed. But his mom made kombucha. So at the time we were just friends, but I remember thinking like, oh, I got to date him long enough to meet his mom so I can get her recipe. So anyways, she taught me the basic recipe and she still makes kombucha now and then, but she just does the basic recipe. But I just fell in love with kombucha. I love the way it tastes. I love it, the way it made me feel. I finally was able to get over like any of the digestive issues that I had. But I'm like, since I've started drinking kombucha, it's like very rare that I've been sick because a lot of the immunity originates in the gut. And yeah, I just love the creativity too. You can have different teas, you can have different flavors. Like kombucha is one of the most versatile ferments. And I just, yeah, absolutely fell in love with it. And I still get fascinated when we make a batch and a new SCOBY grows. Like it's still incredible.
Yeah. Wow. It is fascinating. It's fascinating to see how healing it can be. And people love it. Like there's so many flavors, it's true. I wonder how long did it take you to notice differences in your health? Because a lot of people struggle with their gut biome. And
yeah, I think like for me, like it was pretty quick. Like I started drinking it and like I almost immediately felt better. Because if you think about it, like a raw kombucha, it has like all that beneficial bacteria. So if you drink it, when you eat your food, it's like a little army that's going to help digest your food. So your body doesn't have to work so hard. But for me, because I had basically no I had no gut microbiome. I incorporated like sauerkraut and, you know, water kefir, because all the different ferments have different bacteria like colonies. And the more diverse your gut is, the better it functions like all together as a microbiome. So not only did I, you know, just have kombucha, which I think kombucha is probably the easiest one to drink. Water kefir is kind of like, I'll only drink it for the benefits, but I'm not a huge fan of the taste. But sauerkraut's also like jam-packed full of beneficial bacteria. You can get lots of raw fermented foods from like farmers markets and like some of the health food stores as well.
So cool. Fascinating.
So let's get just a little bit more into building a strong gut microbiome. Let's start with the kombucha. Like you mentioned, so is it is there an ideal time to drink kombucha? Should you be drinking it before you eat, or what's the protocol? What's the best way to use kombucha? Let's start there.
So we do consider kombucha superfood. So you don't have to drink liters and liters daily to get the benefits. You can just have a little bit. Usually for me, the best time, I like to have it in the morning, especially if it's like lemon, ginger, or turmeric. It kind of, it's invigorating. It wakes you up. It's nice to have in the morning. But I think the best time to have kombucha is after you eat, or with your lunch, because then it's going to help you digest your food. So you don't have to have it before necessarily. But I think the best time would be like after lunch. It also contains a lot of B vitamins. So if you wanted to skip your afternoon coffee, you can have a kombucha, and it kind of gives you that energy boost without having like a caffeine crash or anything like that.
Mm-hmm. And so you mentioned some other ways to build like a strong gut microbiome, including fermented foods, sauerkraut, water kefir. What are some other strategies on building a healthy gut microbiome, and how do we even know if we have a good one or not? Like, how do we even start there? Like, how do we assess our gut health?
I think, I'm not a doctor or a nutritionist or anything like that, but I think just like if you have a lot of gut issues, like, constipation, gas, or bloating, or if there are certain trigger foods that if you eat this, it kind of, gives you a certain symptom, then I don't know, I think everyone could probably work on their gut health. I feel like a lot of Western diet, because we have a lot of like added sugar, a lot of processed foods, I think everybody could work on it. Mm-hmm. But honestly, I always just say, like, trust your gut. If you drink the kombucha and it makes you feel good, keep drinking it. If you drink a more commercial kombucha and you're not getting that same effect, it's likely because it's either diluted with water or tea, or it's like not a full concentrate, like undiluted is what I mean. But yeah, I don't know how you would really gauge, I guess, if you don't have good gut health. I think just like listening to your body and seeing how that makes you feel after.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So your kombucha, Wolseley Kombucha, is traditional, organic, raw, and Manitoba made. Mm-hmm. And let's talk about this whole creation of how this happened. So you were in Hawaii, you were at the Wanderlust Festival, you discovered this amazing kombucha, you just felt that spark that you wanted to do this, and you went home and you started experimenting. Is that, am I correct so far?
Yeah. So basically I came home from Hawaii, and at that point Rob and I hadn't even gone on a date yet, but I was like, oh, okay, so maybe I will go for dinner with you since your mom has the secret recipe. No, I'm just joking. But I actually didn't start making it till that fall. I think like in September was like when I made my first batch, but it took me almost 6 months to really figure it out, because like making kombucha is a little tricky because it is a ferment, so it depends on the temperature, it depends on how much starter tea. There's so many different factors that can change the flavor and how quick it ferments. The warmer it is, the quicker it ferments, the more starter tea you have. It depends on the type of tea. But like, I think I had thrown out almost 6 months worth of my batches, and then I would just run and go buy GTs at the store. And then just one day it just clicked. I figured it all out and it all worked. But I just still kept making it, still kept trying, because I absolutely loved it. And yeah, just one day it just clicked. And then from there, I was just like, posting on Instagram really at the beginning, just saying, hey, this is what I'm doing. And then people are like, hey, can I buy some? I think my first sale was to Corey Jill. Derek, Corey Jill Lakuziak. She was my very first sale. And I think I sold her a 1 liter bottle for like $6, because it's so hard to like, when you first start selling something to someone, like to put a price on it, you're like, I don't know, $6. But yeah, and then Corey was like, you need a business name. And I was like, okay, let's think. Well, I lived in Wolseley. I love the neighborhood. So I just figured Wolseley Kombucha. And then our logo, actually, I could show it to you. Do you know Lori Fast? She drew this with pencil crayons. Mm-hmm. And we obviously
beautiful
it, but she's like, what do you want in your logo? And I was like, I don't know. We made a hibiscus kombucha. So I said, just throw a hibiscus flower in there. But it's, this is where the logo came from. And it's just, just step by step, when you start a business, you're like, I don't know. And then you just figure that part out, and then you figure out the next step, and just
So, so it was an organic process, and you did this while you still kept your job in healthcare. What did that look like, balancing a full-time job in radiology and starting this new business? How did you balance the two?
So and I was actually at that time, I was brewing out of a shared kitchen. So a lot of the times I could only get the like 11 till 5 a.m. So I would work I usually worked an evening shift. So I would work an evening shift, and then I would work at the kitchen till 5, and then I would go home. So it definitely was a lot. But I mean, when you really love something, it doesn't really feel like working. Even now, some days here, it's like, I feel like I have the best job ever, even though there's still lots of things that need to get done. But I think when you have like that passion, inside, you just do what you got to do, and you just get it done. And like, even one time I remember we had to come back from Folk Fest to bottle some kombucha, because if we left it till the end of the weekend, it would have been spoiled. So, and I remember Rob saying, I can't believe we're doing this. And I'm like, sorry. But yeah, you just do what you just, because you have such a passion for it, you just get it done.
Exactly.
And then it evolved into you building Manitoba's first kombuchery. So that's a kombucha brewery and a tap room called Wolseley Kombucha Tap Room, which celebrated its grand opening in January of 2020. Probably one of the worst times to start a business, or like a in person, right before the pandemic hit. So let's talk about how that came to be and the challenges faced with opening that tap room in the middle of a pandemic.
So the tap room opened, we had tons of momentum, 2 amazing months. And then, the pandemic hit, but we just I think I closed for like 4 days, and we just switched everything virtual. So we built full online shop. So everything that we offered in store, we now offered home deliveries, subscriptions, and then just obviously curbside pickup. So things kind of slowed down a little bit, but we just made it very accessible. And we tried to make the shopping experience on our website very easy. Because a lot of people, even like myself, I would want to support my local friends, but there wasn't a proper platform to buy their products. So we tried to make it as easy as possible for people to buy our products. So then, because a lot of the times you want to buy something, but it's like either the website doesn't work, or it's, what I mean, the process isn't easy. So we tried to make the shopping experience as easy as possible. And we also have
so it actually,
that's a good entrepreneur tip right there.
Want to make it easy, because a lot of people will go and they're like, oh, this is too complicated, and then they'll stop. But if you make it like super, and you want the shopping experience to be good, because you want them to come back again, right? So we tried to make it like at our website, like as user friendly, but I never would have imagined selling kombucha online. I never would have imagined having subscriptions. And even like today, like we have like our home deliveries, I think we have usually 15 a week. Which is still pretty good. I mean, in the summer, some taper off, but then they obviously pick back up in the winter because everybody wants it delivered. But like, I never would have imagined selling kombucha online, but now it's one of our, one of our main capital revenues that comes in. So it's great.
That's beautiful. So when were you able to change from having a traditional 9 to 5 to leaving that behind, pursuing all your eggs in this basket of the Wolseley Kombucha and its brand?
So I was on actually mat leave, and then I just didn't come back from mat leave. So I went on mat leave in 2019, in May 2019, and then I had the 18-month mat leave, and then I didn't go back. The only downside is I never really got a mat leave. I think I took like 4 days off. And then I was back in the kitchen brewing. But I mean, I'm grateful that it, allowed me to go from one career to the next. But yeah, it was tough because I never really got that mat leave, but it is what it is. The sacrifices that we make.
Well, it seemed as well worth it.
Yeah.
With all the amazing things you accomplished. But let's talk about fear. Fear must have arisen so many times in this journey that would have stopped many people from moving forward with this vision that you had. From like the get-go, the fear of like, who am I to create kombucha, to the fear of, okay, I'm gonna start my own company, to the fear of, okay, I'm gonna leave my job and focus on this. Okay, then I'm gonna start this tap room. I'm gonna get this building. I'm gonna start this in-person tap room. It's like so many. I'm gonna start. Then when the pandemic hit, oh, like people can't come. Like I'm just gonna quit now. But no, you saw all the opportunities. And then you made the website easier. You created subscriptions, deliveries. So amazing. What role did fear play in all this?
So I think, obviously fear always bubbles up, or you have that like little person in your head that's like, it's going to fail, but I don't know. I have a really good support team at home. My husband, he's one of like, I guess he's my mentor. He's been in business and sales for forever, for like 20 plus years. So he's kind of mentored me through a lot of like difficult situations. So definitely, I don't know if I probably could have still done it without him, but he's been an incredible support. But I think too, like for an entrepreneur, you have to be willing to pivot all the time. Like if something doesn't work, try something else. And I think a lot of people, they might give up during that process, but like I think if something doesn't work, you just have to have the mindset to try something different. Keep trying until it works. It might take 2 times, it might take 10 times, but I think if you just keep on trying, eventually everything will fall in place and then the next thing will come up. But I think being an entrepreneur, you have to be super like open-minded and be willing to pivot. I think that's kind of what's helped me kind of get through the pandemic. But yeah, fear still pops up, but
you use it as an ally.
Yeah, exactly.
So you mentioned Rob as being one of your mentors, your partner Rob. Let's talk about some other mentors you've had along the path, mentors and helpers that have really helped you on your journey. Who were they, and what were your key takeaways that you learned from them that you've incorporated into your being?
I think one of my biggest mentors is Carolyn from Futurepreneur. She's, I guess, a business advisor, and she's kind of always just had my back. Like if there's like a new opportunity or a new grant or a new anything, she's always like, hey, Michelle, did you check this out? Or if I've had any type of question with, anything with business, like Futurepreneur, they've been really, really helpful for, during my journey. So I think Carolyn's, she's one of my biggest mentors. Sherry from Generation Green has also been a mentor. She's the owner of Generation Green, and she also puts on the Made to Grow events. So they have a lot of different workshops that I've attended, anywhere from like social media stuff to just all different kinds of business workshops. So, and I think Sherry, she's like our #1 supporter. We had our first fill station at Generation Green, and she's always just supported the business, and she's always kind of believed in the business. So, and she's one of, like I said, our first fill station. So, and she's been in the business for years. Yeah. So those two, I think that's probably it.
And now you're stepping into a role as you being mentors to others. What do you feel is important as you take on that role? What can you share to other entrepreneurs? What advice do you have for people wanting to explore this unknown world of entrepreneurship, who don't have the experience, like yourself, who didn't have the experience but are wanting to jump in? What advice would you give them?
I think the biggest thing is to network with people. Like, I think what I've learned the most is, like just to network, see what all your resources are and really utilize those free resources. There's a lot of grants that are available to people. So like Wolseley Kombucha, we've received up to like $60K in grants so far, just applying government grants. So using the resources that you have available to you. Because I didn't go to business school, and like looking back, I'm like, oh, I wish I would have gone to business school. But a lot of people haven't, right? They fall into entrepreneurship because they have a product or they have a passion for something. So really just utilizing all your resources, connecting with people, and just don't give up. Like, I think, like I said, sometimes it might take 10 tries to figure it out. So just keep on trying, keep pivoting.
And despite you not having a business background, you've just recently won an award, the Emerging Woman Entrepreneur of the Year. A huge deal. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. I know it's pretty surreal. Like even the first time I was nominated as a finalist was in 2019. I had just had the baby and I'm like, entrepreneur. I'm like, I'm an entrepreneur. But I guess like, yeah, I definitely have stepped into that role this year. So yeah, I was a finalist 2019, 2020, I was a finalist, but then the awards were canceled. And then this year I was a finalist and then I won the Emerging Entrepreneur for the Woman Entrepreneur of the Year Award. So it's, yeah, it's pretty awesome to be recognized and to be among some of these, other amazing entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's amazing. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So Wolseley Kombucha, your guys' mantra is love what you do. Can you explain why you chosen that as your mantra and what does that mean? What does that mantra mean to you personally?
So when I was first, posting on Instagram, I would always hashtag love what you do because I was really just doing what I love. And it just became a staple, I think, especially with the community and the brand that we have now. We're always like super positive. We're always, we always believe that you should love what you do. So it's just kind of become like a mantra that we use. We have it on our wall in our shop. I don't know if you've seen it before, but we have it, painted on our wall. And it's just, I think I wish everybody could, do what they love. I just think the world would be a better place.
Yeah, it totally sounds like the whole
Mm.
brand name and the space you've created is actually serving as inspiration for the entire community. Like people can go get healthier, make good choices for themselves, and actually see an example of somebody who's following their passion and bringing people together. I love the sense of community that emanates from everything you're saying. It's really beautiful.
I think we've always been connected with the community. Like a lot of, like when I was first selling out of my house, I'm like, man, like I love that I'm doing this, but I've also made so many new friends. Like and even having the tap room here now, like we have a lot of regulars, and it's like you become connected to these people. You know what I mean? Some people, we see them once a week. They come in, they get their kombucha, and we chat. So community is the foundation of our business, and this is we are making the product for our community.
Yeah, it becomes so much more meaningful for everybody. Yeah. It's very inspiring.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So what would you tell someone in your community that comes to visit you at your tap room who are feeling a calling in their hearts to pursue that must that is arising from their intuition, from their heart, despite society's shoulds, the shoulds from parents, friends, colleagues, culture, society, religion, pointing them in a different direction, but they're feeling a longing in their heart, whether that's to go traveling, to become a yoga teacher, to pursue their passion for whatever that may be. But they're feeling paralyzed. They're feeling paralyzed by fear at that crossroads. What advice would you give that client to pursue that mantra, that motto of love what you do, and they're not loving what they're doing?
I think, a lot of people too think that, you just have to jump from one thing to the next. But like for me, like kombucha was my side hustle for like almost like two or 3 years before I did it full time. So I think if there's something that you feel called to do, I would just say start it and do it. And, when you start a business, it might just be this. And then next time it might, it'll organically get bigger. And then eventually you could make your side hustle your full-time gig. So I think, the biggest step, I think, is saying yes and starting whatever it is that you want. But I think, you don't have to do that all right off the get-go. It could just be, like I said, a small thing and move organically towards something. So, and I think too, like for me, like if you have kind of like a few goals, I'm a big goal setter. So I'm like, okay, these are my goals. I'm going to get these. It does. So even though the end is over here, if you kind of have, a couple of goals and then you move on to the next, it just, I don't know, for me in my brain, it makes things more manageable, more attainable if you just have. So if you do think that something's unattainable, just kind of set some goals working towards that bigger goal.
Mm-hmm. And maybe along that path, different goals emerge that otherwise would not have been there. And by just following the process and embracing that process, doors open that otherwise would not have been. So this journey has not always been an easy one, I'm sure. We've talked about one of the challenges, and that was the pandemic in the middle of your shop opening. And we've talked about how you bounced back and how you adjusted to that. But let's talk about some other challenges that you've met along the way, whether that be entrepreneur-wise with your business or in life. Let's talk about some notable challenges that you faced on your journey, what you did about that, and how have you built yourself stronger from those experiences. Does anything come to mind?
I obviously I was 9 months pregnant when we got possession of the space, and it was a total gut. So that was a challenge because my husband's like, "Are you sure you want to do this? Because you're literally gonna have a baby in like 2 weeks." But I was like, this is the place, this is the spot. I was like, I'll figure it out. So I think like for me, becoming a new mom and then taking on this was a lot. And just this past July, I was so tired. I don't think I even realized how tired I was until I finally took a week off of work. So I think for entrepreneurs, because we don't, we're always working, you're always thinking, like even sometimes my dreams are all like work-related dreams. I think it's super, super important to take care of yourself and to rest, just so then you can show up as a better boss or a better mom, just a better person in general. So for me, it was just like self-care and rest. And I'm learning to, take a day off here and there and just listen to my body when I need to take some time off. So that was, obviously a struggle. But then we could there's so many. We could talk about the supply chain struggles. That's an ongoing struggle. Figuring it out. And we're also working on getting our tap room licensed. We're starting a new company called Boozy Kombucha. So that'll be interesting, lots of hoops to jump through. But just like anything else, I just do everything step by step.
Boozy Kombucha. Am I getting the right impression that it's kind of like for going out?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
We're launching kombucha in a Boozy Kombucha in a can. So that'll be available at the LCs. Hoping to have that launched by early summer, for sure for summer. So late spring, summer, as long as all the licensing, and we still have some research development and stuff to do for that. But
yeah, I'm so curious. I've actually never heard of people creating that combination. What is the health benefits from that? Does it kind of counteract the fact that there's alcohol in it? Or
so kombucha does have a lot of organic acids. It actually detoxifies the liver and the blood. So like we drink Boozy Kombucha, not all the time, but like we've made, really good sangria, good. You can mix it with gin. There's different alcohols. You can also pitch it with beer yeast and make like a beer kombucha, which we've done with Barnhammer down the street. We did that in the summer. It was so good. But I think the main things would be, it's you're because you're detoxing while you're drinking, like obviously your hangover will be less. But it also, it's low sugar. So it's going to be a low sugar, really tasty option. A lot of the low sugar options just kind of taste like a plain fizzy water. Like there's not a lot of depth or flavor to them. So we're hoping to develop something that's like really tasty, low sugar, and it'll just help. You'll have way less of a hangover because of the organic acids. The probiotic part of it, I think we'll probably have to pasteurize just so it's a shelf stable product. So we haven't decided if we're like, do we put a probiotic back in? Or do we just kind of market it more as like, have a less hangover and low sugar? So we're still kind of figuring out, all the different angles and stuff like that. But like you can mix like booze with kombucha. It tastes so good. Yeah.
That's an exciting product. Yeah.
So that's one of the exciting new developments you have coming, Boozy Kombucha. You've mentioned you have many other business ideas that you want to bring to this world. What else do you have stirring in your brain?
Yeah, there's lots. I don't know if I'm ready to share any of the other ones just yet. You'll have to stay tuned for them.
Okay. Well, pardon me.
You'll have to stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for those. Yeah, not quite ready to share.
Okay. Okay, great. I have a question, but I don't know if I should ask it on or off. Maybe I will ask it off in case this is one of your ideas. But I have like something in my head that's like, oh, I wonder if she's doing this because this could be a cool idea. Um, so this will be a top. This will be an off. um, so along the way, Michelle, through building this new brand, through motherhood and everything life has thrown, what would you say would be the greatest life lesson you've learned on the path thus far that you feel called to share with Bianca, myself, and the listeners?
Oh, biggest thing, I don't know, honestly, just to keep going, to keep trying, never to give up. I think a lot of people, what makes a really good entrepreneur is just the fact that they never give up. Because most people during that process will be like, oh, I can't do this, I'm done. But if you keep on trying and you keep pivoting, I think that's the biggest thing that I've learned. Because even there's still some I'm like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm like, no, I got this. And then you just keep going, keep trying.
Yeah. So self-care is so important. You've alluded to it earlier, to keep going, to stay on the path. So let's talk about your foundational self-care routines and habits that have worked really well for you.
The biggest thing for me is rest. And staying hydrated, rest. I drink a lot of like herbal tea. I take a lot of reishi mushrooms. I love my mushrooms. Not psychedelic mushrooms, like, in the mushroom world, reishi mushrooms, chaga mushrooms. I take lion's mane with my coffee. So I think just like, yeah, getting a lot of rest, and I love making like my warm hot elixir. So I always make one of those, usually every night. Either a different tea blend, or sometimes in the morning I'll do like coffee, but I'll always make it more of a functional coffee. So I like to throw in MTC oil or some lion's mane. So my functional beverages, and yeah, so rest, that I do a lot of yoga, a lot of meditation. I also see an energy healer. So I see her every 2 weeks, and she kind of just like scans everything. And I feel actually like that's been pretty game changer. I've been seeing her regularly since early spring, and I've noticed a huge change in my like my energy levels and my mental health. And yeah, those are the three main things that I do.
And that's Reiki.
It is. Yeah, I guess Reiki would be probably the best term, but she does a lot of different things. But Reiki would probably be the best term. Right.
I love that it's becoming more and more popular with people, the energy medicine. So you go every 2 weeks. Do you feel like after 2 weeks you kind of need to go back and you feel refreshed afterwards? Is that kind of what it's like?
I think that's kind of what it is. Also, it depends too. Like usually she'll do like a scan, and then she'll find like if there's a block in a certain one in a different chakra, she'll kind of just help move that energy through my body. And yeah, I guess you would feel kind of refreshed. I usually feel really like calm after, and I feel very like my mental health is always usually very good after. For me, I mean, it might be different for everybody, but for me, that's what it is.
Beautiful. Yeah, thanks for sharing.
Thanks.
So do you have any success stories on, well, yours is your own, how you use kombucha to help heal your gut. Do you have any remarkable success stories of clients of Wolseley Kombucha that have transformed their gut or their wellness through your guys' product?
We have so many people, so many stories. Like I just had a person call yesterday saying how, her husband has been super sick for so long. He had an amputation a year ago, and his body's just been like horrible. And he's only been drinking our kombucha for a couple of weeks now. And she's like, and he before was like, kombucha, no, like disgusting. And she finally got him to try our kombucha. And she's like, he loves it. She's like, I can't even believe he's drinking it. She says it's helped his gut. It's helped his whole body. Like he's never felt this good. But we have a lot of people too with like Crohn's or colitis that have like digestive issues. That's like, I have a client that's off their medication, but as long as like they keep up the kombucha. yeah, so there's definitely a lot of success stories that we've heard over the years of people with drinking kombucha and feeling their gut.
Yeah. And you have many different flavors. How do you create these different flavors, and how do you just like the flavors are never ending? Like you can continuously be creating. So how do you kind of put a cap on like not just creating forever? Like what's that process look like for your entrepreneurial self?
We have a lot of flavors. Right now we have a new one called cherry cola, and it's the cola part of it is 4 roots and herbs. So it's cola nuts, birch bark, star anise, and vanilla. It's pretty wild that you can take those roots and herbs and make that flavor, but we're always just, someone just asked me to make a Dr. Pepper flavor. So it's 25 ingredients though. So that one might be a little bit harder to fine tune. But we're always just creating new flavors. We do a lot of seasonal stuff. So Christmas is coming. We have a candy cane flavor that's coming out. So we make some flavors seasonally, but then we're always just like, you should see our bin full of different herbs, and it's like, let's try this. Like that's kind of where the fun and creativity come into it. Yeah.
And so how does the expansion of your company, how has that looked? And are you looking to take that beyond Manitoba? Perhaps it already is. Like what is the trajectory for the continued evolution and expansion of your brand?
Well, at this right now, we're working on getting into, Sobeys and Safeway. That's what we're working on right now, but we definitely are looking to go into Saskatchewan and Ontario. So I think Ontario will probably, there's not a lot of like local kombucha companies in Ontario, and Albertans and British Columbia are obviously very saturated. So I think we're probably going to go more into like the Ontario territory. That's what we're thinking.
And who does that? Is that you? Are you the primary salesperson for you guys' brand, or do you have you hired people to do that for you?
So right now I do most of like the sales calls and getting the new accounts and things like that, because a lot of people still want to, they want to talk to the owner. I don't have a salesperson yet.
Yeah.
But we are looking at, a bigger space, because obviously we'll need more room. So, but that, if we find a place and, get a bigger space, that could take, 1 to 2 years to get all the capital, to find the space, get the capital, get the build. But it's definitely, on the horizon.
Yeah. That's very exciting. Bianca, where are you at on this conversation? What questions have come up for you that I haven't addressed?
Well, I'm definitely fascinated by the types of flavor that you brought up, because I've never tried anything like candy cane, kombucha, or Dr. Pepper. So I just picture like your witchcraft scene with all the ingredients and that kind of stuff. Okay, so one thing that comes to mind when we're creating something, you can make it super intentional. Do you kind of practice that type of culinary experience? Like, do you embed your kombucha with intention? I feel like it's such a uniting factor for everybody that comes, it brings people together. So do you ever think about that when you create your kombucha, like putting intentions into your recipes, and then they can like serve for a special purpose?
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that. We do put the heart sutra into our kombucha. We also have we have one batch that we did make. It's like a moon batch. Not everybody knows this. So this is kind of a little more personal.
Okay.
But we have made batches that are very, very intentional, that have, a mantra. We've used, like spring water, and made it really, 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 because you can make it as intentional as you want, really, with the herbs, with the mantras, with whatever you want. Because water does carry vibration. So you could make it, fine tune it to something really, really intentional.
Yes.
Yeah, the moon batch that I made with at a full moon women's gathering actually was everybody kind of helped add all of the herbs together. And then I took all the water back, and then we fermented it into 3 kegs of kombucha. So that I'm actually, if anybody's listening in Winnipeg, we are having an event on December 19th. It's a Sunday. where now everyone's going to come back. We're going to have a women's gathering, and then we're going to drink the kombucha that was made at the event. And it's so good. It's like one of the best batches. It has elderflower and red clover, green tea. It's really, really good.
Wow, it sounds so special. I bet it's going to be a magical event.
Yeah, so yeah.
Very cool. The moon batch.
So there's like, I mean, obviously we have our regular kombucha, but then there's, you know, on some occasion we put some, make them a little bit special, I guess.
Yeah. And I bet your daughter loves to help you as well. I was looking at your Instagram profile. You have a beautiful family. Is she involved in the process when you are brewing new batches or creating recipes?
She's usually at home, but she loves kombucha. And sometimes she'll grab her little bag and she pretends like she's going to work. And I'm like, where do you work? And she's like, I work at Wolseley Kombucha. I make kombucha. She's so cute. And she calls it Tasty Booch.
I love that.
She's so adorable. And she goes, Mama, get me some Tasty Bucha. Yeah, she's super cute. So I think when she's a little bit older, or like if I made a batch at home, I would definitely get her involved. But in shop, she's usually at home.
So since becoming a mother, what have you learned from your daughter? What has she taught you? I'm sure many things, but what has been some lessons that you've learned since becoming a mother that has helped you as an entrepreneur, but just as a human being?
I think when you have a baby, it brings out like a certain strength that I didn't know I had. And I think most mothers, you know, you want to, it obviously brings out like, you know, you want to protect your baby, you want to protect things, but it brings out almost like a strength that I never knew I had, becoming a mother. Yeah.
Mother knows, period.
So maybe that goes along with not giving up. Maybe she's given me strength in a certain way.
Yeah.
And what's your daughter's name?
Lucy.
And so what has Lucy taught about love?
What has Lucy taught? Sorry?
You about love. What has Lucy taught you about love?
Oh my goodness.
What does that mean to you?
Yeah, I think, you know, having a child, it cracks your heart open so much. Yeah, she teaches me about love, about being patient, strength. Yeah, I never actually thought I would have kids. So becoming a mother has been really, really special for me. And I think, you know, I'm continuing to learn things from her all the time. And then part of me is like, you know, I almost, not that you do it for your kid, but it's like they give you the strength just to keep going and to be stronger and to be better.
And she's taught you so much. What is one thing that you wish to teach her as she grows into a beautiful, grown human herself?
I'll probably teach her all about the herbs. Herbs and plants. I think like I say my retirement, I'd love to be like a herbalist. That's what, you know, learn more about all of the herbs and all the functions, you know, what everything does. That's my retirement plan. Which I'll tell you one of my business ideas. I would love to have like a cafe that had all functional beverages. So everything is made with like, you know, plant-based and, you know, all of the herbs and spices and everything first that would, you know, if someone wanted to relieve this, you would give them like a different elixir. So kind of like an elixir bar. But yeah, that'll hopefully be, you know, maybe fall next year. Let's see how quick I can get things going.
Yeah, so maybe that's something that will pop up at the tap room. So for the people that have not visited the tap room, can you kind of explain what we can expect if we visit?
Yeah, so our tap room, we usually have anywhere from 6 to 10 flavors on tap. We have a couple different sizes, so people can buy the bottle, or they can bring their clean growler in. So if they have a bottle from somewhere else, they can bring that in. The idea is to reduce and reuse. So as long as the bottle's clean, they can bring it in. We have 6 to 10 flavors on tap, and yeah, we just fill kombucha. We have variety packs as well. So if someone wants to discover what flavor, we have a 12 pack that has 12 different flavors. They can try all of them and then see which one they like.
That's fun.
Very exciting. So to close every episode, we ask all our guests the final two questions, and we've come to that time, Michelle. Um, so here they come. In 3 words, how will you describe the experience you are having on this earth?
In 3 words. Okay, let's see. My experience on Earth in 3 words. Probably
Like,
something, I don't know. I feel like this journey is definitely bringing me back to my authentic self. So maybe authentic. I feel like I don't know, 3 words, that's really hard. 3 words that explains my journey. Okay, so I don't know. I feel like my journey is bringing me back to my authentic.
authentic.
So authentic. I feel like very passionate, and I think lots of love. I think, when I did start the business, we would do the Heart Sutra into our kombucha, and with love what you do, I think love would be a good word.
Amazing. So we spent a lot of time in this conversation rewinding, revisiting the past, a lot of origin stories. And now I'm going to use the magic within me to transform us in the future. We're going to be transformed into a time far from now, and we're going to be alongside an 85-year-old Michelle Leclair. Who is that 85-year-old woman? Where are you? What are you doing? Who are you surrounded by? And what is the legacy that you have left in your time on Earth?
Well, hopefully by then I'll be a herbalist. Probably be brewing up something in my kitchen with my grandchildren. And I'm hoping it would be somewhere outside of the city, which would be nice. And yeah, I'd love to have a nice wood stove in my house and just be surrounded by family, have a nice big garden.
Beautiful. And the legacy that you've left with your business and with your family?
I think probably, the businesses that I've opened, hopefully they're still around or in some sort of evolution of them. And hopefully some grandchildren.
So I just want you to stay with this 85-year-old Michelle for just a moment longer and really feel her in your heart, the love that emits from her onto all those that she surrounds. And I'm going to bring us back to the current day, the infinite now. And that 85-year-old Michelle, she sends you a message. What does she whisper into your ear?
What does she whisper? Probably just to keep going. I feel like that is just, to ask lots of questions. I feel like entrepreneurs should ask a lot of questions. Question everything and keep going.
Beautiful. Well, it's been a real joy to reconnect and catch up on this conversation, Michelle. Any last closing words from you, Bianca?
Well, for me, it's been a joy to get to know you. So thank you for showing up. Honestly, you're really an amazing inspiration for any person out there who's wanting to start something. The way that you describe your journey and you just take every challenge as not a problem. It's just something to overcome. It's beautiful, and I'm feeling really inspired by you. So thank you for being here and having this conversation with us today.
Thank you so much, Bianca.
Yeah.
For people wanting to connect with you, Michelle, they can find you on your personal Instagram at Michelle Leona, Wolseley Kombucha on Instagram. Also, www.wolseleykombucha.com is your website where they can order very simply your delicious product. And they could also, if in Winnipeg, check out your tap room. What is the location?
The tap room's at 749 Wall Street. And we also have fill stations around the city. So if you can't make it down to our tap room, all of the co-op stores have a fill station. You can also refill at Generation Green in the Exchange.
Anywhere else that we should send them that I didn't mention? I think I hit them all.
If you're outside of Winnipeg, you can fill up at both Winkler Morton Co-op. You can also fill up with our product at in Steinbach at Good and Natural and Old Church Bakery. And then if you check our website too, under Find Us, it has all of the list of fill stations, retail partners, and restaurants that carry our product.
Right on. And if you're in Saskatchewan or Ontario, stay tuned. Wolseley Kombucha is coming your way shortly. And for your website, can they order across Canada, or is that limited to Manitoba? Like how, like, do you guys ship your product?
We don't do shipping because it's a raw product and it does need to stay refrigerated. We don't ship at this time. Yeah, so unfortunately that is just local, limited to local Winnipeg.
All right, right on. Well, thank you so much, Michelle, for this conversation. To close every episode, we bring our fist in for digital fist bump, a choice that we can all make. Welcome to the winner's circle. Boom.
Woo!
All right, thank you so much.
Bye.
And that is a wrap on today's call.